Therapy dudes, take away your stress, put you in a good mood. If you had them over, they would eat up all your food. It's time for therapy dudes.
Welcome, everyone. This is
Oh,
oh,
sorry. Go again.
joining on me. All right. That he just can't help it. He's ADHD. This is Therapy Dudes. Dan Fox and Andre Karkamaz, MAZ. We're doing part two of fatherhood. I think we were talking. It sounds like we were talking about a lot of stuff, but
It was fatherhood.
fatherhood.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
doing
it's father.
parenting this month. So, yeah.
Parenting. So we're looking at the father's perspective. We are sponsored by Boulder Psychological Services. Please visit boulderpsychologicalservices.com for all your therapy needs. I think we were jumping straight into personal experiences around fatherhood and maybe our personal struggles. I mean, you've had so many. I mean, we should probably just start with you.
That's completely fair. I do not have to look farther than this morning, where
Okay.
um my wife is a teacher. She has to get to school early, and I'm on point with the kids, helping get them out the door. And today, I thought I had gotten them out the door because two of them had left. The third one was like in his throes of getting out the door. He gets a ride from the neighbor.
Oh,
I was like, I'm going upstairs to take a shower. And this is the personal time that we talked about before, right? It's just like I look forward to that moment in my day because it's this transition from like I gotta like wake up and immediately be on point and help my kids and focus on their needs. And now I can like rest my weary body, get it warm from the shower, move my muscles around, and get ready to beat you in basketball later today.
oh,
But
keep wishing.
keep wishing. I know it is a wish. It's so not true.
You're just too much older, man. But you're taller, you know.
But I'm telling right.
You're good looking, so that counts.
Um,
I gotta give you something.
I know I appreciate that, but I do have the filter on when we're zooming, so
Oh, that's what
I
that is.
I think yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I
So
always wondered. It's like, how does he get so much younger? Anyway.
um, so I'm in the shower and it's just like I literally like just turned the water on and I'm hearing this thing that I'm like, is that like a whining dog? What what is going on? And then I hear it again and I realize like, no, the last child hasn't made it out the door and he's like downstairs crying. And I'm like, oh no. So, I turn off the water, I put on a towel, I go to investigate.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, his backpack was left in my wife's car, which is now like 30 minutes south towards Denver. And
Uh-oh.
it's got his like missing homework assignment, and it's got his drumsticks, and it's got his Chromebook. So everything that he needs to be a functional person at school is in there. And we've been on his case about the importance of being a functional person in school. And this missing assignment needed to get in so that he would have screen time this weekend. And so
Oh,
he's breaking down. Um, he's on the phone with my wife trying to like somehow troubleshoot this, but she's about to start class, so she's
right.
like, "Sorry, I can't take a half day to get your backpack to you.
Oh,
Daddy, can you take care of this?"
mm.
And luckily, luckily, I'm in this like weird phase. I don't know, maybe it's springtime, but I'm
Is that
just
what this is?
it. I mean, I know today it doesn't look like it, but it has gotten warmer. Um,
Okay.
and it is for whatever reason, I'm just in this mode of like embracing all of the challenges that come at me in terms of like needing to help my kids, whether it's with homework, whether it's just emotional support, whether it's, doing a like raid on my wife's car to get the backpack. At all of that stuff, I'm just kind of like taking it in as this like, okay, this gives me a sense of purpose. I'm waking up and instead of just being what I think would be like a relatively dysfunctional, cranky, middle-aged, late middle-aged person, right? I think instead of that, I'm very like functional and forced to have these like systems and to just kind of keep moving things along because that's what my life requires, and that's what I've just kind of learned to do over time. So I'm just trying to like shift the narrative internally to this like appreciation for like the fact that I do have responsibilities and I do have a sense of purpose and I do need to get up in the morning and there's stuff for me to do. And I got to tell you, like I talk to a lot of people, mostly, younger adults in this case, not my adolescent crew, but the younger adults
Hmm.
who are at a complete loss of what to do with themselves, and they have no direction and no sense of purpose, and there's
Oh yeah.
this kind of
It's like a
depressed,
pandemic.
anxious, existential crisis, addictive behaviors to just kind of escape the bad feelings. And it, by contrast, I feel like, wow, I'm lucky to have the responsibilities that I have. And I'm lucky that my shower is interrupted because my kid needs me. And I feel
Oh.
very strongly that my children, like, if nothing else, if there's no other role for me, I'm the only father they have, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm their dad. Everything else I do in the world can just be like easily replaced by somebody else. But that, like,
That's unique.
right.
That is
And
something that just you hold.
yeah, and if I was gone from the world would be fine. If I was gone from my kids, I know they would be in
Hurting.
right. It would be a permanent, devastating.
Oh yeah.
So that connecting with that has helped me tremendously to be able to like deal with just the day-to-day nonsense because a lot of it isn't that big a deal. And the bonus I got today, the like payoff for this was
Oh,
amazing because I had like fully been able to switch gears without resentment from this is my me time. I've got a little time before this podcast. I can just kind of like stretch, hang out, do my shower, make some food. To I need to drive down to my wife's work, get this backpack, and get it back up to his school. And that's going to just soak up not only like all my time during the day, but I'm going to have to convince Andre to push back the podcast and then push back my next thing and just kind of like it's going to
oh
squeeze the whole
yeah.
day. It's going to squeeze the whole day.
Domino effect.
But, I help my kid regroup. I'm like, I'm going to drop you off. I'm going to get your backpack. Da, 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 da. We get in the car.
Mhm.
The backpack's in my car. And
I was
we
like, wait a
both,
minute, how did you do this? Because we are on time.
right? We are on
Yeah,
time, right? We
yeah.
both get in the car. We both look at the backpack and we just start laughing because like it was it was hysterical. And then he's like, I don't like I swear I like took the backpack in mom's car. And then he like rewound yesterday and realized like, no, I picked him up from school because it was the end of the school day. I had like 15 minutes before my next person. And he was having a rough day because of all the sort of unfortunate things that happened to a kid in Boulder who is not white and is adopted and is in middle school. And kids like to, sling racist remarks or
Are we gonna slap them if they keep doing that?
right, we gotta slap them. They keep doing that. So we had a day like that yesterday, and
Yeah.
wanted to come home early, but instead, I was like, all right, I'll pick you up. We'll go
Right.
and like stop at
That
St.
is such an awesome dad move. Mom or dad move, whatever parent does it, that's an awesome thing to do for your kid.
Is what?
But like just show up and empathize with their experience. And actually that's one thing I really value in being a father is
Yeah.
like that role for for kids.
Yeah, I really think we have to embrace what we're um, kind of called to do as a parent. It reminds me of um, there's a French philosopher Camus who wrote this book called The Myth of Sisyphus, and Sisyphus ended up really pissing off the gods, and so instead of getting to just go down to Hades, they were like, hell is too good for you. You're condemned for an eternity to just roll this boulder up the hill. And as soon as you get to the top, having used all your energy, it's going to roll back down and you just have to trot down and go get it. And Camus' argument was that the experience of Sisyphus is kind of what it's like to be a human being. Or in
Oh,
this case, we could say to be a father, where you use all your energy, nobody appreciates it all, and as soon as you get done, you just have to like run back down and do it again.
right,
And the question that was presented in this book was what would have to be going on in Sisyphus's mind so that as he like just got the boulder up to the top using his last ounce of energy, just sweating and exhausted,
mm,
he turns around and there's a smile on his face and a twinkle in his eye. And he's like, that's my rock. And he just like trots back down the hill. Right? What would have to be going on consciously? And I think that's an important question for us as fathers is like, what kind of state of mind do we want to have to be able to embrace and appreciate the responsibilities and the role of being a dad? Because if we're not aware of that, then we can't intentionally angle towards that. And our
right,
brain will unintentionally gravitate towards being resentful and
right. Because we're
feeling,
not seeing the bigger picture.
yeah. And I'm saying this from a theoretical lens, right? I'm not like, I embody this now. Like, come join me in my like enlightened place.
Well,
That
I
is
think it
not,
speaks to what we're working towards.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, you've seen me in the trenches, right? It's not
Oh,
like
I've heard
all,
some things.
yeah, it's not all sunshine and rainbows by any means. But the journey I think has, I'm in a good place currently with it, and it's something that I, from this vantage point, have been able to like really kind of get some, um, more intentionality around what I'm doing and what I want to be doing, and
Yeah.
hopefully that'll help ride me through the next downtime.
I think, yeah, I've experienced a lot myself. What I would say is that rock at the top represents, like he's positioned if we're talking about a child, right? He's positioned the rock in a way where it can succeed. It can see things from an optimal point of view at the top of this mountain, right? And so he feels good about what he's done, all the effort. It's not really about him at that point, you know? It's
Mhm.
just about understanding his position, what he did, right?
Yeah.
His role in, you know, whatever he's trying to accomplish, he's done it. And I think that that's why it's important for us to keep focus of like what ultimately are we doing here? A lot of people formulate families and they don't understand what it takes and they don't understand what their role is, right? And we do become selfish because we feel hurt. I think feeling hurt is at the root of why we start to claim like my time and this is for me and all that because we don't see the fruits of our labor. We don't see like what we're giving to others as turning into anything yet sometimes, right? Like a lot of parents really struggle with all the effort they're giving to their teens and kids and they're still failing at school or they're still lying, they're still like engaging in destructive behaviors and we're still feeling unappreciated and I still think standing firm in your values and who you want to be as a parent and understanding what's yours and what's expected of your children. Not having expectations that are like the same for every child because every child is going to have different difficulties is paramount. Um, I'll just go off of a little bit of my experience as a father since we're talking about personal stuff here at the end. I think my biggest struggle has been Well, I'm terrified of not being there for my daughter, and I'm terrified of not being there in general, for her mother. For I see the other two kids as my kids as well. Um, I feel a tremendous sense of uh, I owe them. Like I feel a tremendous sense of owing and responsibility. And it's hard for me when I feel like I'm coming short and I judge myself really harshly.
Yeah.
Um, I think a lot of fathers experience this, and I think at the root of it, there's a huge lack of communication between parents on how they should raise their kids sometimes.
Yeah.
I also think part of being a father figure in someone's life is not just to, you know, put the law down. And same with a mother figure, right? Like we got to figure out how to connect with everyone as well. I think it's really important to come through the door and be greeted, no matter how hard the day is. The mom, the father, whoever it is, whoever comes through that door needs to be greeted. And I think it's important to check in with all the kids. I think it's important to get on their level, ask them about their day, give them a genuine hug, tell them, let's figure this out because every day is a struggle for kids. I really believe that. And I think every day is a struggle for parents too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we need to find a way to come together instead of look at what can we take. Because kids are going to do that, but parents shouldn't do that. I can't take personal time right now. Kids are going to take as much advantage of their time as they can. They're going to try to sneak away with any kind of electronic time, candy, like ways to not do their chores the right way. And that's just how they're wired. We can't expect them to be as perfect as you, Dan, but
Well, you know.
yeah, you worked very hard. But I, you know, I have a lot of I have a lot of guilt as a father, and I've noticed that a lot. Am I being a good enough father to my daughter? Am I being a good enough, supportive figure to her mom, to my other kids? Do I feel, I don't know, it does kind of chip away sometimes at your self-image because you find yourself suddenly in a situation where, like, kind of like you, I've heard what you've said about your situation. Sometimes you've been really down. You
Yeah.
just find yourself in a situation where everything feels kind of out of your control and you're judging your actions when you have little moments of explosion. You're questioning who you are because you're like, that's not how I want to show up, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to do better. I just know that I have that drive all the time. And I will tell you right now, her mother does better at a lot of things than I do. And I do better maybe at some things. But it hurts. It hurts when I feel like I'm not doing my part. And it hurts when I feel like I'm too tired to engage in the way I'd like to. And I feel like I'm making excuses. And I think fatherhood in general, because men are wired not to talk about their emotions as much or seek help, I think you can really find yourself isolated in your experience.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree.
Oh, I do feel like, fatherhood is often played out in isolation, and
Yeah.
the moms are way better at connecting and sharing and leaning on each other for support and giving support. And as dads, we're just, often like orbiting on our own, trying to like navigate both the, actual work of fatherhood, but also just all the back end stuff around being terrified or feeling guilty and all the other emotions that come up with it. Um, I do think that there's a, I don't know, sort of a silver lining, I guess, to feeling terrified or feeling guilty in that it like speaks to this idea that there is something bigger than just our own little, egocentric, self-centered energy, right? Like
Right.
we're, we end up bonding and caring so deeply about our kids that that becomes this kind of profound emotional core energy that I feel like is part of what makes life for me, a lot of what makes life for me have a sense of like richness and meaning and
Yes.
value. And
That's where the gratitude comes from. Yeah.
right. And being able to come to some sense of peace and acceptance with our own humanness that like we aren't going to be perfect parents. And in fact, they say it's better to not be perfect parents because the world isn't perfect. So if we,
Give them some
give our
challenges.
kids this kind of, perfect experience and then send them out into the world where there's just like a lot of hard knocks, we're not actually preparing them for the world. There was a, a, a psychologist, Winnicott, who coined the term the good enough parent, which is
The
that you're
good enough
on
parent.
point 80% of the time. 20% of the time, if you're like not not doing so well, you're off your game. That's actually better than being on point 100% of the time. So we don't need that perfectionistic energy. And
Right.
I was looking at your situation. I think you're on point 81%. So you're crushing it. You're beyond what you.
I don't know. It never feels that good.
But I mean, truly, the like just to be reflective of this and not totally confident, I think brings this sense of care and dedication. And
There's
like
a lot there.
everything that I've seen about you since we met years ago on the basketball court, right, is that being a dad has become like it is the most important thing for you, and everything that you
It is
experience goes through that lens. And
true.
when things are difficult, they're difficult because of how it might affect your kids. And
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of dads who have tremendous resentment about how their hobbies and their athleticism has, kind of gone down the tubes because they have these responsibilities for their kids. And you just embrace the dad bod and, the fact that your basketball game has suffered without, right? I've never seen you like complain about that. You're just like thinking about your kids. And
That means a lot. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
I care a lot about my kids, and I'd say the majority of the pain in my life, and the same thing I see in you, by the way, Dan, comes from the pain I feel for them or the pain I feel from how I feel like I'm letting them down somehow or something like that. I think it's really difficult as parents in general. And I just want to say, when we were with Harmony and we were
Mm,
talking about anxiety and a little bit of EMDR stuff, I saw that look on your face when you got that text. I genuinely, the timing, I thought it was because I made a joke at you.
yeah,
The timing was interesting, but you look devastated from the fact that your daughter felt like giving up at school. And I could genuinely see the pain. And I recognize that pain because that is how I feel when things go wrong with the kids. And I don't think that's a bad thing to care. I think it's good to allow yourself to feel that. And it's good to allow yourself to work through that with your child, with your partner. You know,
yeah.
you're a good man, Dan.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you for saying all that. And I gotta say, I really enjoy our banter, but I also think it's just it means a lot that we can get to this place and be, truly serious and supportive of each other and vulnerable in front of each other, and that we've got that piece of it. And
Keep working on that.
let's keep working on that and keep this right. Like we can be supportive fathers to each other and help with that journey. And I think that's not just needed for me and you, but something that I hope other dads can find too.
Fine. Yeah.
All
All
right, I
right.
know we
Thanks,
got to
Dan.
wrap. Um, Here's our outro.
Therapy dudes, take away your stress, put you in a good mood. If you had them over, they would eat up all your food. It's time for therapy dudes. Therapy dudes, take away your stress, put you in a good mood. Listen.